Hello. I thought I'd do a little introduction to my laser cutter that I bought just over a month ago now, actually. I got it for a really, really cheap price on eBay compared to what it is. It's a 100-watt laser tube in there, and a 4060 laser cabinet with a proper controller. And I was really, really chuffed about finding this because the previous owner has barely used it and he had a lot of trouble with it, with its upgrades. And I've got hold of it and I've been basically, when I've got a few moments, fixing it up. The problems I found with it so far were that the motors that he had have burnt out. And what was going on there, basically he had 0.48 amp motors running at 4.8 amps. So they were getting exceptionally hot and, well, they basically burnt out and started skipping really, really badly. So went on to OMC, Step Online, bought some really high torque motors. They're only 2 amp motors, but I'm running them at 1.8 and they're absolutely fine. Yeah, that was one of the problems. The other problem it had, it's not very obvious. There is a return idler just under there. I had to fabricate a new one because the one that was already in there was only being supported on one side, and basically it was tilting the the timer belt. So it was basically getting it frayed on one side. But that wasn't very easy. I made a new idler using some spare parts I had from my printers. And I had to end up cutting a little section of tube out in here for the bolts to basically sit through, because that was also pushing it down. Anyway, that part's fixed. The next big problem I had was this cable tidy belt. It was originally the other way around going down here, but it kept catching on sections like there, so I wasn't actually able to get a full movement without it getting trapped against some of the screws there. And the other thing as well, I mean, this isn't to slam the old previous owner, maybe he didn't quite think of it or really care that much. There was a bit of a weird thing with cable efficiency. You want to have as few cables here as possible, one to free up as much space here, but he was having bunches of cables that were superfluous. I mean, you don't need 4 or 5 ground cables. I mean, I think it was only about 2 or 3 actually, but I reduced that down to 1 ground cable, so all the bits down here work correctly. The steppers are working, they're going in the right direction. The next weird stuff here is down here. I need to really sort all this out. I've been pulling it out to try and quickly wire things up to test. But for some reason, the previous owner, it looks like 4-channel speaker cable or incredibly high ampage motor cables. But these are like, 13 amp cables each channel there. That's pretty excessive, especially when you're considering these are signal lines. So I think 5 volts at maybe a couple of milliamps each. I will be replacing them and tidying all this up. But yeah, that's how it is at the moment with this. I'll turn it on and I'll show you one problem I'm still trying to figure out. I haven't test fired the tube. It still needs plumbing back in, and I'll be doing that, I don't know, probably tomorrow. I'm not going to bother today. Got a few things I need to do. Hopefully the tube's fine. It hasn't leaked any water. The owner said that the tube was absolutely fine, barely used, 30 minutes at most. So it should be okay. One other issue I do have, or a little bit more worried about with this. I mean, this is the obvious sign of it, but some of the paint's peeling in and bubbling up in areas. And basically what's going on is that the steel's rusting underneath. Previous owner absolutely adamant that he hasn't cut vinyl with it, so hopefully it's not a vinyl corrosion, chlorine. But even some of these nuts have got a weird sort of white residue on, and I'm not really sure if he's telling the truth or not. Anyway, there's no excessive damage, and If he had cut any vinyl, it must have been a small amount, but just enough to make a few surface problems and problems with the paint job. I'm not worried about paint jobs. You know, this is a functional thing. It's not meant to look pretty in an office. This is something that I've been putting together. Currently, this is all loose, hanging out here. I will create an enclosure for that to sit in properly. Yeah, I mean, it's working for the most part. Homing correctly. Motors running correctly, cable mostly hopefully working there. But this is the interesting bit. It homes, and for some reason goes to 400 on the Y. No idea why that does that. It should stay at 0. Well, hide the previous graphic because that's not mine. Oh well. That says, there you go. Just jumps down to 400. Why it does that, no idea. Anyway, that's one of the things I've still got to work on. But I fixed the steppers, and hopefully I'll tidy all this mess up very soon. I'll be doing lots of soldering and bits. I'd get the air pump running and plumbed in. I've got a nice water cooler there for it. Which is even better actually because I didn't know it came with one. I bought this on the idea that I was going to have to cool it myself, but it actually comes with a water cooler, which is great. It doesn't have an extractor fan, which I need to sort out. I mean, it's got the basic one on the back of the unit, but I do know they're not very good, so I'll have to sort something out there. But yeah, I'm really chuffed with this one because I think I've got a real great bargain for it. You know, its specs, if you were to buy it brand new, you'd be paying £1,000, maybe £1,500. So I'm really chuffed with what I got here. And it means I can get on with a future project, which I wasn't really going to announce anything, but probably early next year, I'm going to be working on a first contact Borg cube. Not quite studio scale size, probably about a third off from the studio scale model. And I really wanted a laser cutter to etch some plastic parts and cut some plastic parts, but also to paint etch and then expose metal for electro etching to get loads of those fine little details that the model had. Anyway, that's a future project, so that's why I really wanted to get hold of this. And when I saw it, for the price, I mean, I was nearly prepared to pay £700-800 for a really, much lower powered one from China. I very nearly ended up giving up and then buying a K40 £300 monstrosity thing, but this is what I really was after, something that's at least this size. The 100 watt tube is a massive bonus, so I would have been happy with 50, but 100 watts, absolutely brilliant. Should last a lifetime with the power usage I'm going to use out of it. I'm not going to run it at 100 watts most of the time, so great. Anyway, yeah, thank you for this completely unconnected to my other projects video. This is something I wanted to get sorted out. Now I have some free time in between the parts for my gaming retro thingy. I'm actually going to be starting work on part 2 tomorrow. I mean, I've already recorded most of it, but I'm going to start editing it and finding some footage and trying to get it all sorted out. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye.